Objects. So what about objects? Objects. Back to the word squirrel. A set of daily log entries can be represented as an array, and but the entires don't consist of just a number of a string, and each entry needs to store a list of activities and a boolean value that indicates whether Jax turned into a squirrel or not. And ideally, we would like to group these together into a single value and then put those grouped values into an array of log entries. And values of the type object are arbitrary collections of properties. And one way to create an object is by using braces as an expression. Like this example. Let day 1 equal squirrel false and evens work and touched 3 and pizza and running and console.log day 1 and dot squirrel semicolon will be false result. Console.log open parentheses day 1 dot wolf semicolon will be result undefined. Day 1 dot wolf equal false semicolon. Console.log day 1 dot wolf open parentheses then semicolon result to be false. Inside the braces, there is a list of properties separated by commas, by the way, and each property has a name followed by a colon and a value. And when an object is written over multiple lines, indenting it, like in the example, helps with readability, and readability properties whose names aren't valid bending names or valid numbers have to be quoted. Like this example, let descriptions equal work went to work between double quotation. Then between double quotation will be touched 3 and touched a 3. Then semicolon. This means that braces have two meanings in JavaScript. At the start of a statement, they start a block of statements, and in any other position, they describe an object. And fortunately, it's rarely useful to start a statement with an object in braces, and so the ambiguity between these two is not much of a problem. Reading a property that doesn't exist will give you the value undefined. So it's possible, by the way, to assign a value to a property expression with the equal operator. This will replace the property's value if it already existed, or create a new property on the object if it didn't. To briefly return to our tentacle model of bindings property. Bindings are similar and they grasp values, but other bindings and properties might be holding onto those same values. And you may think of objects as octopuses with any number of tentacles, and each of which has a name dotted on it. And the delete operator, by the way, cuts off a tentacle from such an octopus and is an array operator that, when applied to an object property, will remove the named property from the object. This is not a common thing to do, but is possible. Like this example now. And the binary in operator, when applied to a string and an object, tells you whether that object has a property with that name, and the difference between setting a property to undefined and actually deleting is that. And in the first case, the object still has the property and it just doesn't have a very interesting value. And whereas in the second case, the property is no longer present and it will return false. And to find out what properties an object has, you can use the object.keys function, and you give it an object and it returns an array of strings, the object's property names. Like this example now. Console.log and open parentheses object.keys and open parentheses x0 and y0 and z2, and the result will be x and y and z between double quotation. And there is an object.assign function that copies all properties from one object into another. Like this example. Let object A equal A1 and P2 semicolon object.assign object A and P open parentheses P3 C4 and console.log object A, where the result will be A1 and P will be 3, C will be 4. Yes. Okay, so array them are just a kind of object specialized for storing sequences of things, and if you evaluate type of, it produces object and you can see them as long and flat octopuses and with all their tentacles in a neat row and labeled with numbers, and we will represent the journal that Jacques keeps as an array of objects, like this example again. Let journal and events open parentheses work and touched tree and pizza and running and televisions between double quotation, then squirrel will be false and events open parentheses work ice cream and cauliflower and lasagna and touched tree and brushed teeth and squirrel false and events open parentheses weekend and cycling and break and peanuts and peer between double quotation, then semicolon, then squirrel equal true will be true and divide and multiply and so on.